Ooh, that's right. I probably shouldn't put a virtual background up behind that for when it's transparent. What have we got default? Get a default XSplit background going. Something that looks a little bit better. No. Oh, how's everyone doing today? Ready to get back into some Blazor and some stuff like that? Ooh, with that, I can pretend I'm a musician. Yeah, today I'm going to pick up with the auth stuff again around the Blazor Workshop app that we've been building over the last couple of weeks, or not building, refactoring over the last couple of weeks. But I actually want to change some of the way that the auth works, because I sort of realized afterwards that the end goal that I've got here wasn't quite in line with the way that I'd done auth. So, well, actually, maybe if we jump back to the code in a sec, let me find it. Let me close off some of this stuff before I put everything up so I don't accidentally share API keys. That would be bad. All right. Let me get rid of the fake background. Just go to lovely hidden transparent me sitting in front of things. So last week we set up, or like we refactored the application so that it was now capable of doing auth through OIDC, and we backed that with Okta, so that like you could log in and it would give you the profile information and stuff like that. But I realized that it works and it does everything that we needed to do, but it doesn't quite work the way that I'm going to want it in the production. Here, yeah, that's there's the code for like the end goal, because the end goal is to try and get this running in the Azure Static Web Apps platform. Now that currently doesn't actually support Blazor and .NET and stuff like that, but one of the folks at Microsoft has written a blog post around how you can actually host a Blazor application on static web apps. So this is kind of what the objective is to try and replicate this. So basically what we'll have to do is we'll have to modify the workflow file that gets generated for GitHub Actions, because that one only supports doing a deployment of a of a JavaScript application, so like a Node or whatnot. And instead we're going to need to get it to compile .NET, but the stuff that it compiles is ultimately just going to be HTML, CSS, and some WebAssembly files. So this one, if we just scroll through Tim's blog post, basically the objective is that you add a new step to the actions, which is the .NET tool installer, the .NET SDK installer, and then you run a .NET publish, so that drops it out. And then you change the action to look at the output of the Blazor application. So that's there. Rather than the like trying to do the compile and stuff itself, because it doesn't need to. Well, I mean, it can't, because the workflow just isn't capable of doing that at this point in time. So the Static Web Apps team have said that they're working on Blazor. It'll ship at some point in the future. And we'll have that there. Cool. But if we can deploy that there, that works well. And then for the functions, so again, Tim touches on this in his blog post. You just have to deploy that out to its own functions backend, which is easy because we can just do that with GitHub Actions as well. We just have then a separate workflow file which is going to deploy them into Azure Functions. And I think I've written a blog post about how to do that as well with GitHub Actions. So that's the goal. That's what we're going to try and do ultimately. But that's not going to kind of work with the authentication model because we set up a authentication model, but static web apps, if we go to the docs here, we'll see they actually have authentication in them. I loaded up all the other pages that I needed, but I forgot to load up this one. So just come through this section. So we have roles and stuff like that available inside of static web apps already. So we can get out of a bunch of different authentication providers like GitHub or Google, Twitter, Azure AD, if that's preferred. And that's kind of what we're going to want, because then we can pull out the user information, which is going to be some sort of unique identifier for them. This is a sample of the claims principle that's come back from Facebook. So like there's a user ID, and that's what we would use to map through. And then we hit that from like /auth/me, and that's how we can get that sort of stuff. And then on an API request, it's going to have this custom header of x-ms client principal. So like we need that. Like that's what we want to do. But it's not OAuth. It's using EasyAuth, which is something that we've got in like the app service platform, because that's what underpins static web apps anyway. So we've got EasyAuth, which is integrating with these various different auth providers. So all the stuff that I did last week to get OAuth working was great. Showed that you could do OAuth, but it's not going to be useful for how we'll ultimately deploy it. So now we're going to have a look at EasyAuth. Thankfully, another person at Microsoft has actually already solved this problem for me. Anthony Chu works on the Azure Functions teams. He's one of the PMs. And he wrote a blog post around how to do authentication of Blazor applications in Azure Static Web Apps. Right. That saves a whole bunch of my effort on how to do it. So I had this flicked to me earlier in the week, but I haven't really had a chance to dive into it. So he's obviously written a NuGet package. This is in the Blazor application, is it? Yep, so that's in a task main. So we'll replace the services add OIDC authentication stuff with this add static web apps authentication. So that's obviously what we need to do there. We won't need to add the cascading state, authentication state or anything like that, because that's already there. Like the application is already built to support authentication. We're just going to need to use it. And then just add in authentication. Yeah, so for static web apps, you hit /or/login/providers like GitHub or Google or Facebook, etc. So yeah, he obviously doesn't provide any helpers for that. It's just kind of wire that up yourself, which is fine. Like that's easy enough to wire up ourselves. And then after the user is logged in, they're redirected back to the app, and then we can access off the claims principal, which is exactly what we want. Cool. The claims principal in .NET is the thing that kind of underpins all of our auth model. So that will be ideal. And then, I'm assuming, like, if it's into the claims principal, then like the authorized attribute should work and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so here we go, running locally, because what we're going to need is, I want to do some sort of local dev. I don't want to just push this straight up to Azure and then try and like remote debug a WebAssembly application from. Yeah, that sounds like it's going to just end poorly. So what's he do? He just creates a like a mock client principal in the JSON and then hydrates that in. Oh, I mean, it works, I guess. But how do we then apply that into the functions backend? I don't think, has he covered that? Access control. Well, I mean, probably not, because the .NET functions are coming. The support is coming soon to static web apps, but we're not there yet. So we kind of okay. Well, and let's see if we can make it work locally. So the first thing, actually, let's go have a look at the code that he's written for this. And I'm curious how this works. Okay, that's the sample app that he's built. Here we go. And then, so we have the authentication extensions. So that just adds authorization core, which is the thing out of Blazor itself. So that's like, yeah, okay. And then just an authentication state provider on static web apps. Authentication state. So then what's that do? Get authentication state. So it just looks for where that location is. Gets that value and just kind of unpacks. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So it doesn't really do it's pretty basic. Well, let's start by adding it then. Okay, so we're gonna grab this. Actually, let's remove. Let's not run the server. I'm gonna remove the OIDC stuff. I don't know. I think that's just built in. It's just built into standard authentication, isn't it? I don't think I need to change anything. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what dependencies are in Anthony's sample app. Blazor authentication. Oh, that's his. Components authorization, WebAssembly build. Okay, so I probably don't need that one. I just need to add components authorization. Okay, well, so let's delete this. And we'll come into a terminal client. And we'll paste in, wait, I copied that, right? Let's have a look. Up to the top of the article. So let's just copy and paste that in and see if this gets it. All right, there we go. Cool. It's installed. Restored. I'm gonna need to do that. No, I don't need to learn how to do the debugging. And that's, so then we're probably going to need this one. I'll just check the NuGet version. Packages, that. Because he's actually using a couple of different versions of files in here. Let's go to the right one. That's 316, and then the rest are all 320. I was wondering, does this have 320 as availability, or is it just, it's not up? No, looks like 316 is the most recent one. Okay. .NET add package that. There we go. Oh no, I missed the M. .NET add package MV. No, what? Oh, I hit the command modifier. So that's why I couldn't find the package. Though we probably don't need that package because it's likely a transient, a dependency of Anthony's one because he was using it. So it should already been there, but we'll do an explicit add just in case. Okay, cool. Now that will be working, which means we need to come to, we're probably going to need to implement a login page then. Because login previously was just taken care of. Base address authentication message handler. We're probably going to have to figure out what that was doing. One thing at a time. Builder, services, dot add. Was it static? I'm probably going to need a namespace, aren't I? Let's have a look. What's the namespace that's going to be in? Okay, so we'll add that. Add this using at the top. Hey Jack, welcome. Let's get rid of that one because it's erroring. Let's get rid of that line because it's erroring. Semicolon there. Build add static. Static web apps authentication. Was that all? Add transient that, and then add static web apps authentication. Yep. Okay, that's fine. Now the base address authorization message handler. We've just deleted a line of code. We probably should figure out what that line of code was doing before we just kind of move on. So let's Google it. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look here. Interesting, I might have already previously looked up what this is all about. We'll see. The base somewhere in here, right? Okay. Let's find out where that line of code was referred to. There. Ooh! Thanks for the follow, batterers. And welcome to the channel. Where is okay, for convenience, this type is included that's pre-configured with the app's base address as an authorized URL. The authentication enabled Blazor WebAssembly templates uses that. Okay, so it's to do with stuff that gets passed through to the HTTP client, allowing you to do the authenticated calls. Cool. I'm just going to delete it because I don't think we need it. because they're now like separated out to a separate location anyway. So yeah, we'll just delete that line of code. What's the worst that can happen? Anyone who's watched this stream before will know exactly what's the worst that could happen there. So that means that we're probably going, well, let's just run a .NET watch run. So what the application looks like and what's going to happen when we click the login button, because I'm not quite sure where it's going to take us. Because previously the login page, the functionality for that is actually provided by the Blazor component, like the generic OIDC authentication. Well, I mean, that didn't have a login page because that was just redirecting out to Okta. But when we were running the ASP.NET Core hosted Blazor application and doing an identity server in that, so basically self-managed authentication, you would the server itself was providing the pages that you would navigate to do authentication. So you'd actually redirect to pages that were essentially bundled in a separate DLL, but I don't have those bundled into a DLL at the moment, I don't think. So I mean, I'm probably going to have to create a page somewhere. Whoa! And a whole bunch of stuff went boom. Authentication state provider. Oh, well, that's going to be a nuisance. So that's what that red error means, I guess. Like the fact that it is actually throwing up red errors everywhere. Remote authentication actions. Maybe I shouldn't have deleted that one. Yeah. Is this going into the outtakes? No, there's never any outtakes. This is just how it happens, and it's always errors. Access token not available exception. Maybe that type does exist now. Maybe it's come back in from another package. Let's wait to see if. Well, no. Let's see what the errors were. It really was just primarily unhappy with the imports file because I removed the authentication namespace. That's fine. And then the piece of authentication state provider. Let's start with the imports names. Imports here. So that one can delete because that doesn't exist anymore. And then the authentication state provider, remote authentication state. This will actually go as a static web apps. Now, Blazor authentication, and then so it could be that authentication state provider. Yep. And then we will just go pop. Use that. Well, that's no configuration. Oh, that's also annoying. So the authentication is damn. Let's come back to. Let's come back and let's undo what I just did. And let's have a look again. Wait, what did we inherit from? No, hang on a sec. I'm inheriting from remote authentication state, not a state provider, just from state. So what does the authentication state provider provide? It's obviously not providing remote authentication state if we've removed that assembly. Like the assembly that contains that. If we've removed it, welcome Heart Roar. Thanks for the follow. We are trying to figure out what. Yeah, it's going well. I've just deleted a bunch of stuff and now it's broken, and it's unsurprising. I don't know why I should have been surprised by it breaking. Okay, so it's just authentication state, not remote authentication state, just authentication state. And then let's find out where authentication state comes from. That one. So authentication state. Damn it. Doesn't like, because I don't have the claims principal passed in. Well, what's remote authentication state then? I might like, don't tell me I'm going to be ending up diving into like the Blazor code to find out what this remote authentication state was supposed to be, because it's obviously got a default constructor, and I don't know where the pizza authentication state is created from anymore. Let's see if we can work out where that was used. Okay, so that's in some compiled pages. There, authenticate. Here we go. Authentication state. Yeah, that's not going to be ideal because I don't have. Oh wait, no. If I can provide it with a claims principal, it'll be happy, right? Because that's what it wants. It wants a constructor that takes a claims principal, which I can get by passing that in here from somewhere. So how does the so why do we use that? We use that to just provide some pizza information throughout, I think. Like, does it? I mean, I guess remote authentication core, which is probably not going to work because I've deleted the assembly that lived with inside of. Okay, so I think we're going to undo some of these deletions that I've done. Let's just randomly deleting stuff. Turns out that's not actually the best way to try and code this stuff up. So let's do some undoing. Get status git diff git checkout patch on this one. Okay, so which can I split? Discard that chunk? No, we want that still. Discard that chunk, yes. And that should fix the project file. Let's come here and have a look. Okay, cool. Yes, we have that back. .NET restore to bring back that DLL, and hopefully a whole bunch of these error messages go away. And this can go back to being just the remote authentication state. Undo all of the file changes here. And that's how we magically fix my code base and just hope that it all works again. Yeah! What could go wrong? Isn't that the famous last words? Famous last words. I need to work out what the remote authentication state is used for within inside of a Blazor application. Oh, I wonder if that's in that doc that we had up. So it's just all under additional start. Let's see. Remote there we go. Create a new application from the remote authentication state. Yeah. Provide an ID property that's stored on it. Wait, was that the first time that appears? Remote authentication. Let's go up to the top. We'll start again. Let's find. Okay, so that's the first place it lives. And what is save app state before an authentication operation? Ah, okay. I think this is state that we might be able to like hydrate and hydrate out and then pull back in. Like when you navigate away, like do it like when you're authenticated and come back in, maybe. I was talking to one of the Blazor folks earlier today, and yeah, it was something to do with that. Like there's a way that you can kind of store state with authentication events as it navigates around, and maybe that's what the remote authentication stuff is. So let's go back to authentication.razor. And all these red squiggly should now just magically vanish because I've brought back in all of the dependencies. Yep. I actually, no. They won't have all vanished because I need to undo the change in here because that now exists. Yes, save the changes to that file. Okay, so remote authentication actions, if the current action is a login, then preserve the current orders so we don't lose it. I wonder what it preserves it on. I don't really want to open up the Blazor source code. It's over 100 projects. Like when you open up the Blazor solution, there's like over 100 projects inside of that. I know because I was in there recently trying to work out how the OIDC stuff worked before I did last week's stream. C# formatter might have crashed. Okay, well, that's fine. It doesn't need to not be there. Okay, well, let's see. Sign out manager. No, okay, so it should be recompiling now that those that index, so the imports are all there. Hopefully that's going to work. Let's open up in a new tab and see if we can get to the application. Local host 5001. Come on, there we go. It's not like all the time zones. Too many time zones to load. No. Did it? So hang on. Is it still failing to compile? It shouldn't be failing to compile. Let's kill the file system watcher and start again. Let's see. Pretty sure the imports work. Where is? Actually, I probably no. So that file's fine. It's back. Happy as it will ever be, and just rerun the watch command and see if we can actually get the web server started. Or do I need to restart WSL? Am I to that point of the day where all the resources have been taken by OBS and WSL2 and there's nothing left for actually running processes? It probably is. Let's see what Task Manager is telling me. I was playing around with some of the settings in OBS beforehand to see if I could try and improve performance of the stream, like the encoding. And I don't think it's OBS now that's really giving me any issues. I've got it pushing more of its processing onto the GPU rather than just on CPU. I think, yeah, I'm pretty much out of memory. I'm at 95% memory usage on my machine because WSL2 is sitting at 8 gig. And then that leaves 8 for the the rest of the stuff that's on my machine. There's a way that advanced continue. There's a way that you can configure the amount of RAM WSL is allowed to ever get allocated. I think I should have a look at that and see if I can maybe cap it at like 6. Yes, you are right, Jack. I do need a dedicated stream box. I was trying to set it up so that it was pushing across to the Surface Pro 4 that I've got on my desk and actually then broadcasting the stream off there like I did with the workshop I ran earlier this week. But I decided to try that at about 11:30 before coming online, so I didn't quite have enough time. So it was something that I figured was probably best left for yeah, best left till next week to try and play with. Yeah, no, clear what drops, Scott. With WSL, so if you want to kill WSL2, let me just start a PowerShell session. It's actually like, so because WSL2 is running in a VM, it's obviously getting like allocated as much memory as it possibly can. So just fire up a PowerShell session and then do WSL -- shutdown. Yeah, you can see how much it's like the fact that it's to the point where this terminal is just like not even wanting to start up. There's a little too much memory being allocated there. Oh, come on, terminal. One hell on. Yeah, wow, it took a long time to start up PowerShell. Okay. Proxys VM drop caches. I'll have a play with that. I just run this, and then that just terminates WSL2. Well, like it terminate WSL1 as well, I guess. And then all that RAM that I had allocated is now freed up. So I'm now down to only 50% memory usage. Just like having my machine running seems to use a lot more memory than I think it should. And I can't even work out where everything is. I don't seem to have that many processes that are running with much memory, but I have a lot of processes running, and I'm too lazy to go through and just do like a sum in Task Manager. Okay, anyway, that's killed everything, and guess what? It's gone. Hang on a sec. I can't connect to WSL2 anymore. It's like, well, no. Well, of course you can't. I've just terminated WSL2 under you. Yeah, so there's a WSL config file that you can put in the user directory of your Windows machine that controls the amount of memory that is allocated to WSL. But I can't remember exactly like the structure of that config file, and yeah, I'll bother around with that when I'm not on stream. But yeah, I can guarantee that as soon as you start running WSL plus like a couple of instances of VS Code plus OBS, it starts chugging. That's ultimately why I was trying to push a bunch of this stuff over to running code spaces. But I need to go back and see if I got the code spaces stuff all finished. Yeah, so I did a stream like 2 weeks ago where we went to set up code spaces. There was a bug with OmniSharp, which is the C# language service for VS Code, that meant that running it in code spaces, it didn't actually load all of the dependencies, and in turn, just like literally the entire screen was red squiggles, but it still compiled fine, and you could run the application and things like that. So it was a pretty terrible editor experience because the editor just wasn't loading any of the .NET types. So you couldn't tell if you'd written poor code or it was or just the language service not running. That's actually been fixed. I've been following a bug on the OmniSharp repo for that, and yes, they fixed it. I think the release was dropping today. Some new Docker images that update, so some new dev containers that update the stuff that's needed for code spaces to run. But we also created our own dev container that can be run that then loads everything, which did get around one of the problems. But I was having another issue. Like when I was running in the browser, Edge was crashing because I was running Edge Canary, and then it was having some issues around SSL, and it was just like, okay, well, I'm going to put that in the too hard basket and pick up something else that's just going to be too hard, which is authentication. Cool. Okay, so we're just going to wait for the terminal to come back, and then we can restart this web server. We'll start up a new terminal here. Someone really needs to just give me a few $1,000s so I can buy a proper streaming PC. Can you see if you can find some budget for us, Jack? Team's got any budget left? I won't use the terminal. Just run terminal here. Yeah, I know yours is coming out of your personal budget, but I need this for work. That's why I need to find out if there's any work budget around. I don't think there is. Come on, terminal. Okay. Cool. Build. I think I'm on an insider build. So maybe, yeah. Maybe that's why I could get up to 8 gig allocated for WSL because, yeah, if it's doing 50% of machine resources is where it will cap out at. But just the fact that, well, I'm not really running much at the moment on my machine. So I'm not quite sure where the other 50% of my RAM is. It'd be nice if it wasn't. But yeah, like WSL shouldn't need 8 gig to run a .NET web server and a VS Code extensions. Like that's. So I know that most of the resources have been free. Okay, here we go. And then Blazing Workshop. No, Blazor Workshop. Is that it? No, maybe. Blazor work. Oh. This is. My ability to type today is just non existent. Blazor Workshop. My eldest son, it's my eldest son's 5th birthday today, and he woke up at 4 a.m. just like super excited and wanted to like get up and do stuff for the day. It's like, buddy, it's 4, go back to sleep. But he wouldn't, so I ended up like in his room like 4 a.m. So that, no, it's, I'm not sure what's so buffering. I don't think I'm. Well, I know that I'm buffering a fair bit at the moment. Yeah, it's the I think it's the VM restarting at the moment. Is yeah, it's not happy with me at the moment. Like the just typing out until yeah, that slowed down quite a bit. At the moment, I think everything's just no, it's like drop frames are not like I'm getting the FPS is pretty low though. Like I'm getting like 10 frames a second at the moment. It's like, woo, performance. And then where are we going? We're on a source. Yeah. Dropping back. It's like the fact that it's just chugging, trying to load in like the network info script. Thoughts and RAM. Yes, I know. Maybe I should try this one day, not in WSL2. Just like run this on the Windows portion of my machine and see what it's like. See if that's actually viable. That'll be another novel concept. Yeah, I put in an order for a capture card so that I can try like offloading the OBS to a different machine, but it's going to take like a month to get a capture card, which sucks, but that's the realities of shipping at the moment. Trying to get stuff in from the US is going to be slow. Yeah. Run a VM in Azure just to run. No, see, if I was going to do a VM in Azure, then I would just use remote containers. Actually, yeah, we could do that. Like stick, because I've got a container there, so I could stick the dev container in like a container instance, and then remote connect to a container instance there. Or I wonder if I could get the dev container configured to run on an ARM build, because then I could run the dev container on the Raspberry Pi that's on my desk that is currently not really doing anything. But actually set up some proper hardware to offload things. Yeah. Okay. .NET watch run. Look, yeah, the lag on those typings. I wonder if you can adjust like encoder settings in OBS while like on the fly. Let's have a look. I might have to stop and restart if it's properly laggy. I might go in and hilariously, it just says that I've gone up to 30 frames a second. Like I was literally running at like next to no frames a second, and now it's gone up. Let's go. Let's drop down that. I wonder if like on the fly encoder changing. So I can't change what the encoder is, but I can change the output of the encoder. So I didn't have time to test some of this stuff because at about 10 minutes before I kicked off the stream, I was like, oh, I should actually do something. Like I was watching a YouTube video the other day about how to improve encoding settings and stuff like that. Like I should probably actually go and do that. So I've changed it so that I'm using the NVIDIA encoder in OBS rather than I think I might have been doing CPU encoding before, which theoretically should be fine because I've got a decent enough CPU in the Surface Book 2. Yeah. What year is it? It's 2020 according to the clock in my terminal. Yeah, so I've changed to the NVIDIA GPU as the encoder, and that theoretically should actually make it perform better on stream because OBS is now doing less on the CPU than it was doing before. So theoretically, I shouldn't drop as many frames. But communism works in theory. And I can tell OBS is now hitting the GPU a lot more. Still, kind of average on like about where it used to be on CPU utilization. But yeah, I don't know. Like it basically just flatlined frames a second. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but I think we're back. Let's reload, and we'll have a look at the application. Yeah. 2020, the year that everyone decided to stream and realized that no one actually owns hardware that's capable of doing streaming. Cool. And now the next bit of the next application to die is going to be the browser. All right. We are just going to like hard kill everything. I need my capture card to hurry up and arrive. End task. There we go. That's how you get rid of your browser. Terminate that process. One at a time, one at a time. Oh yeah, it's really unhappy with me now. I wonder if anyone would notice if I went and borrowed some of the stuff out of the reactor. You wouldn't tell, would you, Jack? Come on, browser, like, hurry up and die. Otherwise... Oh, no, there we go. There we go. It's aware that I've terminated its process now. Boom. Let's restart the browser. Watch it fire off like 15 different extra windows that I thought I'd closed. Sure, restore those pages because they were all useful that I had. And no, I didn't need Twitter opened. Okay, done. All right, browser is restarting. Let's have a look what the Blazor application is going to tell me in the DevTools. I also did order a USB switch jack, so I'll be able to swap the input devices all across to the other machine, and when streaming. So yeah, I just need a capture card, be able to push that across. Okay, here we go. So Blazor's starting to load. And boom, something has like massively exploded. Cannot provide a value for the property sign-out manager on shared login displayed as there's no service registered to support sign-out. Huh. Well, that's annoying. So, oh yeah, there's like cascading failures everywhere. Well, that's properly annoying. So I guess this wasn't going to be as simple as I thought, just swapping out authentication providers. So it wants a sign manager on the login display. Oh, I did end up with multiple browser windows open. I'll close that one because it's not doing anything other than displaying new tab. And come here. And login display is going to be under shared. You spent $2,000 on what was supposed to be a basic streaming PC. Nice. So what's wrong with the case option that you're going with? Okay, so we need to inject the sign out session state manager, but we don't have one of those because sign out session state manager would be provided by the OAuth stuff that we're no longer injecting. So we're probably going to have to create our own sign out session state manager. Why do I feel like I'm about to open the Blazor source code so that I can work out how some of this stuff is implemented? It's not spent yet. It's spent, Jack. Just admit it. You haven't finally clicked the button in on the order form, but you've already committed to spending it. Okay, so I'm probably gonna have to yeah. So we're gonna need to implement a sign out state manager. So the case is bigger than you actually need. What are you going to do with all the excess space in the case, though? Are you going to put in like a hardcore cooling, like water cooled system? Or are you going fan cool? Static web apps. Sign out state manager, which can inherit from sign out state manager. It's emotionally cooled. Oh, more LEDs. That's what you're going to dump in. I'm kind of interested at just like what the latency that I'm experiencing is. It's around about 40 seconds. I've got about a 40-second delay on the stream at the moment. Whoa, that's crazy. CPU fans, but you know, for doing like hardcore thread crunching, you know, you're gonna need something that's a bit more than just fans. Get some water cooling in there. You know you want to. Okay, so let's find out what this sign out session state manager API surface area looks like. Nope. Oh. Error starting OmniSharp. Well, that's a problem. I wonder if I have to restart this. Ooh. Ben was 20 minutes delayed. That's ouch. That's challenging. Yeah. 40 seconds is interesting because yeah, I'm getting confused as to what you're talking about. I got to remember what it is. All right, so let's just reload. Let's see if OmniSharp will start up again, because I want to know what that sign out state manager is supposed to be doing. Because I'm going to need to probably implement one of those. So with static web apps, the way that it exposes auth is there's a whole bunch of /.auth endpoints that it takes care of. So like /.auth/login, and then for the various login providers that are supported, you do /.auth/me, which gets back your current identity and stuff like that. And then finally, there is /.auth/signout if you want to sign out, obviously. So I'm guessing that Blazor has the plumbing in there to handle the sign out stuff. That's what the API, at least that's what I'm going to assume this sign out session state manager is going to be doing. But that will be implemented based off of the way the OIDC flows are working. So we're probably going to need to implement that ourselves to navigate through the .sign out flow and then back. So we'll have a look. We'll have a look at what that does in any moment now, once we're able to actually get the get OmniSharp up and running, so we can have a look at the information around this type. Here we go. There's OmniSharp starting. Now it's a little yellow flame instead of the big red flame that we had before. We want it to stay yellow, or no, actually we want it to go green, then it's working. Yeah. Otherwise, come back to the docs and see if the docs might tell us some of this. Hey, I thought I closed the browser tab. We'll close it now. Okay, casting app routes. Well, let's see if the sign out state, there we go, add scope sign out state manager. This is under pre-rendering with authentication. Yeah, I still don't know what that time is doing. OmniSharp's failed again. That's going to be annoying. Because now I'm not going to be able to find out what that type actually does. And that doesn't seem to be linked off because it's just in the code base. Let's see. So, yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so it's not. I know it's not referenced because it's in a type that's elsewhere, and I didn't get you. You didn't restart properly. So does it tell me why that's crashed? It does not. And the projects are still loading here, so it might just be a case that it hasn't gotten to loading, and that's why it's listing it as an error. Yeah, there we go. We're still loading with OmniSharp. And we're done, and OmniSharp still hasn't started. I don't think I can just, I don't think there's a way to, there is a way to restart OmniSharp. Excellent. I thought you had to reload the whole VS Code environment, but that's fine. Don't have to do that, so let's just restart it. Okay, cool. So let's see if it wants to work now. No? Still an error? No, here we go. Clear output, no. Okay, so it's finding all the projects. I've got pending updates in VS Code. There's notifications everywhere. All the little icons down here telling me to do stuff. There we go. I reckon it must be working now because it's finding problems throughout the code base. Okay. Maybe I should add a new solution file which excludes all the stuff that I don't need, and then that might load faster as well. Then I could do something drastic like open it in full Visual Studio. I haven't used full Visual Studio in a very long time. Oh, come on. Nope, I don't think it did reload. Give it one last one, and then I'm going to terminate VS Code and start it again, because I really need to find out what that type does. If I got to implement one, I need to know where it comes from. Well, I suppose I know it comes from here. Okay, so we'll pop that namespace back in. So that'll get rid of the compile error, theoretically. Then we're going to search this type and see what it's doing or what it looks like. So we can try and work out what we're using it for and how we implement our own version. Well, that's a nuisance. Just sending me to let's go Blazor. I'm gonna close my VS Code instance. We'll start again. Close that one as well. Close. No, don't reload. Cancel. Stop loading. Okay. There's no argument that responds to the formal parameter JS runtime on the constructor. Okay, so I need to pass in the JS runtime and the constructor, which is fine because it's all getting managed by dependency injection anyway. So we'll just have to add that constructor in. See, this is why I needed you, IntelliSense, so that you could tell me without having to rely on the compiler to tell me what the errors are. Come on, VS Code. Well, this is my machine. Oh, that's right. Just installed an update to VS Code, so that's unpacking. Another week, another successful stream where it is watching things perform very slowly. Okay, fingers crossed that OmniSharp wants to load up this time, but we need to add a constructor here, which will take an IJS runtime, public that, which will take the IJS runtime. Is that it? It is IJS runtime. Yep. JS runtime, and then that can call base JS runtime. So we'll just pass that straight through. Yep. And we're not actually going to do anything in the constructed just yet, because we don't know what, if anything, we need to do. So then what did we seem to indicate here? So that's just adding it as a scoped service. So we'll just add a scoped service, so we don't need to try anything too funky on the dependency injection. Binder, services, add scope. Opt. Static web apps sign out. State manager. There we go. And sign out state manager. So that's where we define it as the type that we're using as the input, and then what's the resolvable type, which will be sign out state manager. Just being its base class. That's what, and that's what's actually expected elsewhere. And I've also spelled something wrong. That is builder, not binder. Yeah, at least if I remember correctly, scoping is in that order. We'll see. Okay, so that's done. Reload. It's still just detecting changes and hasn't restarted. Yep. Oh, forgot to import the namespace. All right, well, I might actually wrap up early today. Yeah, this is not going particularly well. I think I need to go do some more research into precisely what is going to be needed for the authentication stuff. I was hoping that it would just be a matter of dropping in that that package from Anthony, but it looks like there's going to be a bit more stuff because the Blazy Pizza application is expecting it to be using like the sign-in manager and the pipeline behind sign in, sign out in and of itself, and that's more designed around like the OIDC and like OAuth model, which is not what we're using in static web apps. We're using EasyAuth in front of it. So yeah, I'm going to need to do some more research into understanding precisely what all the types are that are involved and where we would use them. So yeah, I might wrap it up today rather than struggle through with a whole bunch of stuff that I've got no idea where to even start. Yeah, I got to work out what this sign-in state manager is. I need to work out what that remote state was for, and some other things. So next week we'll try again, and we'll try again a little bit more informed, maybe. Maybe I'll do some work between now and then to see if I can chip away at some of this stuff. But yeah, for a bit more informed, it might make it a little bit easier. So until next time, good luck and see you on another stream.